Hello, everybody. Today I'm sharing my healthy goals of 2024. I'm Hila, and thank you so much for coming back here to Hila Home. And I hope that you're having a lovely day wherever you are. I thought I'd do something a little bit different today because I know it's January and it's the month that a lot of us are thinking about healthy goals and having a healthy year. For me, January is the month that I spend planning and setting up everything so that the rest of the 11 months will flow by beautifully. So it does take me a while to craft my goals according to the areas of life that I have. So, just as a brief backdrop, I have 9 specific areas of my life that I craft goals for, or resolutions, or set themes for what I hope to embody over the year. And those range from my mothering duties to my intellectual pursuits, etc. So, health and fitness is, I would say, one of the most important ones because everything else in my life benefits so much when my health and fitness is in top form. And this is something that unfortunately I feel that I learned much later in life, and I sort of wish if I could go back and tell my younger self in my 20s that listen, health and fitness number one above all things. But it's something that I discovered later on in my late 30s, but still it is better late than never, isn't it? So getting into my health goals, right? So for me, the most important thing that I'm focusing on this year is longevity and strength and training. And for me, it comes out of I really want to age in a way that means that I will still be able to walk about, I'll still be able to do things myself and live as independently as possible when I am older. And I also want to be able to keep up with my grandkids whenever my children will bless me with the grandchildren. I want to be that sort of grandparent who's actively taking them, walking around to Disneyland if need be, or taking them hiking, etc. So that's something that's very important to me. And that comes out of the fact that one of the first jobs that I had when I moved over to England during my undergrad year was working in nursing homes, because you could easily get the job doing shift work nights. So I would work a couple of nights and be going to school during the day in order to have some money, as you do when you're a student. And I was very struck by how losing your mobility as you get older and becoming more sedentary was effectively meant that you just lost independence from what I could see. And it really stuck with me. And I do remember thinking that I didn't want to be like that. And it was a big contrast for me because I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, which is a Southern African country. And where I came from, our elderly people, they would still be walking around upright and still quite active. We didn't see as much of, the walker frames, the walking aids, etc. So it was such a huge contrast for me for that. So I was aware that there is different ways of aging, so to speak, but that really stuck with me. However, I wish I could say in my early 20s that I was wise enough to think that I'll start working on it now. I was just kind of like, yeah, as you do when you're young. But it turns out that some of these things, right, it's better for you to start working on them earlier rather than when you get to that age, so to speak. But again, better late than never. So my number one goal is to continue with my strength training. And I want to build more muscles. So strength training is very important because, again, those are the muscles that you probably need to keep from getting into a nursing home. And So doing a lot of squats, doing a lot of deadlifts, and I want to really focus in on muscle building, and the subsequent goals are really going to emphasize that. But the main thing is the strength training, continue to increase my strength. I would like to be able to do a body weight, one and a half times my body weight squat, the barbell squat. I think I'm probably I can squat my body weight right now, and I need to push towards going up to 1.5 times my body weight. I would also like to be able to deadlift 2 times my body weight. I'm currently able to deadlift, I think, one and a third of my body weight. But as we go through the year, I'll be sharing the numbers with you. I also want to be able to do 12 to 15 unassisted chin-ups. That's the ones where you hold onto a bar and you pull yourself up and and then you drop and you pull yourself up again. And I also want to be able to do 15 dips, and those are the ones where your body weight dips, where you're on a bar and you're sort of pushing yourself up and down. And I want to be able to do a 2-minute farmer's walk carrying 80% of my body weight. So some of these that I have, there are markers for longevity from some of the people that are studying longevity, like Dr. Peter Attia you can find him here on YouTube. Actually, he's really good. So I felt like those were good goals, visuals that I could aim for. So that's what I have for strength training, right? And then number 2, I also want to eat more protein. So generally I am ketogenic, so I do tend to eat protein, but in combination with my fasting tendencies, I have noticed that I probably miss out on my protein quantities that I'm supposed to be taking. And particularly, say, around winter time when there's a little bit more indulgence and I will be having more carbohydrates than I normally would do. But I want to make sure that it's more consistent throughout the year, because protein is a major muscle builder. It's just so important. And I think there's a recent study that Dr. Stacy Sims, who's another really great source of information, so protein is very important when building muscle, and particularly for me as I'm headed towards menopause. That's the next big thing. I want to get in all of my muscle before I get into menopause. So I need to increase my protein intake. And that will help with building the muscle. And then number 3, I want to work more on flexibility. So because going back to point number 1 that I made about I want the strength in order to be mobile as I get older, flexibility is also a very important point for that, because when you work on flexibility, it really does help with protecting you from injury as well. So flexibility stuff is the knees over toes kind of stuff that you do. So your Pilates, I guess, and your yoga. But it's not enough to just do Pilates and yoga by themselves. You need to be building up the muscle, because the muscle is what protects the joints. Because if you lose your muscle mass, then the joint is having to do more work. The bone itself is having to do more work than it should be, because it's making up for the fact that the muscles aren't there. So I want to do a lot more Pilates classes and a lot more stretching at home in order to improve my flexibility, because flexibility can help you avoid injury as you age. Okay, and then point number 4 that I want to, my 4th goal is intermittent fasting. And so I have been intermittent fasting ever since I first discovered it. I think it's nearly 4 or 5 years now that I've been intermittent fasting, and it's really wonderful, and there have been so many benefits to it. So for me, it has never been about weight loss. I've never particularly struggled with weight. I've always had a slim, athletic build. But intermittent fasting had so many mental health, mental clarity benefits for me. And so I just kept up with that. And because the longer you fast, the longer you can hold your fasts for, so you don't tend to eat as much. And I realized that the longer fasts that I was doing were basically eating into my muscle gains, because I just wouldn't feel hungry, and I just have this fantastic mental clarity. There's no fog or anything like that. And it's quite an addictive feeling, having that feeling of just such clarity, and there's no fog. And so I'll just keep putting off my first meal of the day from, maybe if it was supposed to be 12, then it would be like, oh, I'll wait until 2. And then if I get to 3, I'll be like, oh, I might as well wait until dinner. And so I was easily falling into one meal a day, but that impacts the amount of muscle that you can have. And I really want, like, literally every 0.1 gram of muscle is important to me. And so the more I've read around intermittent fasting, the more I've realized that I basically need to stick religiously to the 16-hour, 8-hour eating window, and maybe a longer fast once every 3 months. So that's what I'm going to be doing in 2024. And I will see, because I don't want to compromise my muscle gains, but I also love the mental clarity that I get when I am intermittent fasting. So, but overall, with all of these goals, obviously the main thing is the quality of life. I find that when I feel better, I sleep better, and I'm a better wife, mother, person, human being. And so there also has to be that balance for me, that it doesn't eat into my life so much, particularly around food restrictions, because you can easily get, a bit of a reality distortion field around that. So for me, quality of life is still very important, especially since I have children. And one of the major benefits of doing all of this, right, is that my kids get to grow up in a household where they see that self-care is very important, and that hard work is a virtue, because it is hard work. It's not building muscle by going to the gym, etc. It is a lot of hard work, and I think that that's a very good virtue for my children to learn. And I do try very hard to lead by example with my children. And another plus side is that my very hot husband can get the woman that he deserves, so that, it's kind of like nice for that. But of course, overall, well-being, because I can do all of these things perfectly, but if I'm not managing my stress and my cortisol is, off the charts, it would just cancel all of the benefits of doing any of this other stuff. So I want to do a lot more sitting in prayer and meditation, a lot more nature walks, a lot more nature hikes, and just getting better at managing my stress levels, and getting better at just, accepting what's inside my control, and being able to just let go of the negativity of anything that's outside my control. So that's something that I want to do. I want to enjoy more sunrises and sunsets, and I want to do a lot more community stuff. I do find that when I engage with giving back within the community, whether that's through volunteering or in any other ways, it feels really good, and that's something that I want to do more of in terms of the I think it's good for stress management. So those are my health goals for 2024. A bit winded and what have you, but the overall thing is, great quality of life with stress management through meditation and prayer and all of that stuff. And then strength training, increasing the amount of protein that I take in order to build the muscle, working on flexibility by doing things like Pilates and stretching, and trying to sort of keep to a 16-8 intermittent fasting routine. So those are the things that I have at the moment that I'll be working on across the year, and I'm excited to share with you my progress as I get along. The next thing that I'm going to be getting is I'm going to be getting a scan, a bone density and muscle scan, which is going to tell me what my bone density is and how much muscle I have. The last time that I got scanned, which was probably about 18 months ago, I think I was at 26% lean muscle, and I was at about 16% body fat, which was quite good for my age, because these things are based on what your age is, your age range is. But my goal is to have, overall, I would like to have at least between 34 and 35% lean muscle mass. That means that most of my weight should come from the muscle. And if I can just maintain the body fat at the 15-16%, I'll be very, very happy. I've also been watching a lot of Huberman Lab podcasts, and I'm particularly intrigued by his morning routine. And I might just check out the morning. I might try and implement more of the stuff, because some of the things that he does talk about, I do already. So I'm intrigued by trying out some of those other things, but those are things that I'll be seeing along as we go in 2024. That's it. I'm so sorry it ended up being so long. Health and fitness is something that I do love to talk about, and I can talk about for ages. Well, I hope that you have a lovely day, and thank you so much for watching. And until I see you next time, I wish you blue skies, health, and happiness. Bye. So it's about 10 minutes since I finished the HIIT class, and my cheeks are still flushed from how intense it was, but that's the level of zone 4 cardio is what I need to be doing more of, definitely. It was a great challenge.